Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ahmad Nazmi Birazali, matrix number 1182469, and in this video, our group will present about group project assignment on Sharia governance. The first question required our group to discuss whether Sheikh Abdul Karim's appointment as a Sharia committee member in AEA Prestige Malaysia poses threat to independence of Sharia committee member towards performing their duties to the Islamic banks they are serving from the perspective of BNM. Firstly, we will discuss about the function and criteria needed to be the Sharia committee members. The committee must establish a robust methodology to guide its decision-making process and report back to the government for review every 3 months. An IFI shall only appoint or reappoint a person to be its Sharia committee member if the following are fulfilled. First, the person is a Muslim individual. Second, the person has been assessed to have met the requirements specified in the policy document on fit and proper criteria on a continuous basis, and the person is either a Sharia qualified person or an expert who possesses skill, knowledge and experience relevant to support the roles and responsibilities of the Sharia committee. In determining a Sharia qualified person under paragraph 12.1, an IFI must assess whether the person fulfills the following. First, hold at minimum a bachelor's degree in Sharia, which include study in Usul Fiqh, Principle of Islamic Jurisprudence, or Fiqh Muamalat, Islamic Transaction, or Commercial Law. The second one is possess solid knowledge in Sharia with reasonable Islamic finance knowledge and experience of the relevant industry, and demonstrate strong proficiency and knowledge in written and verbal Arabic with good command in the preferred language of the IFI, either Bahasa Malaysia or English language. An IFI shall ensure that Sharia committee must be of a sufficient size that reflect the business need of the IFI or the financial group and enables a conducive environment for sound deliberation of Sharia matters. An IFI must ensure that its Sharia committee at minimum comprised of at least 5 Sharia committee members. Back to the question 1. Sheikh Abdul Karim was appointed by AEA Prestige Malaysia as a member of the Sharia Committee. From our group discussion, there are no threat to independence of Sharia Committee member towards performing their duties to the Islamic bank they are serving. According to BNM, it can be said that Sheikh Abdul Karim was qualified enough to be appointed as Sharia Committee member based on several reasons. The first one is he served 12 years as Sharia board member for the AEA Prestige Pakistan, not AEA Prestige Malaysia, as stated in Sharia Governance Guideline by BNM. A Sharia committee member must not serve the same IFI for more than 9 years. The second reason is after the appointment, Sheikh Abdul Karim continues to hold his current position as the head of the Sharia department for AEA Global and head of Sharia department of AEA Prestige Dubai. As AEA Prestige Malaysia must follow BNM guideline, it can be said that AEA Dubai are not same IFI with Malaysia. The last one is Sheikh Abdul Karim fulfill the requirement including free from any criminal case as stated in Sharia Governance Guideline by BNM. Based on the reason, we can say that there are no threat to independence of Sharia committee member toward performing their duties to the Islamic bank they are serving.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Muhammad Khalis bin Zainal Abidin Suhaimi. My matric number 1180818. Okay, now we move to the second question. What is the differences between the Sharia governance and Sharia assurance guidance issued by BNM, OIFI and IFSB? Specifically on the Sharia governance styles adopted in each of the regulator and Sharia governing bodies, especially for the Sharia review and Sharia audit practice. For the first comparison, we can see in Sharia governance by BNM, which is Bank Negara Malaysia. Okay, first we can see the objective of Sharia governance framework issued by BNM to set out the expectation of the bank on an Islamic financial institutions, which is IFIs, Sharia governance structures, process and arrangements to ensure that all its operations and business activities are in accordance with Sharia to provide a comprehensive guidance to the board. For the second, Sharia committee and management of the IFI in discharging in duties in matters relating to Sharia and outline the functions relating to Sharia review, Sharia audit, Sharia risk management and Sharia research. Okay, for the third, according to BNM Sharia governance framework, IFIs are responsible to establish a sound and robust Sharia governance framework with an emphasis placed on the roles of key functionalities in ensuring effective implementation of the Sharia governance framework. Lastly, for the BNM Sharia governance, the independence of the Sharia committee shall observe at all times in exercising their duties to make an objective and informed judgment. Any person bearing responsibilities outlined in the Sharia governance framework for an IFI shall possess the necessary competency and continuously enhance their knowledge and understanding on the Sharia. Okay, now let's move to IFI Sharia governance style. Okay, for the first, the IFI has taken the initiative to provide basic guidelines for Sharia governance framework in its governance standard. Okay, for the second, disseminate accounting and auditing talks relevant to Islamic financial institution and its application through training, seminar, publication of periodical newsletter, carrying out and commissioning of research and other means. Okay, for the third, prepare, promulgate and interpret accounting and auditing standard for Islamic financial institution. Okay, for the lastly, review and amend accounting and auditing standards for Islamic financial institutions. Okay, next, IFSB Sharia governance. Okay, first, the IFSB defines a Sharia governance system as a set of institutional and organizational structures used by an Islamic financial institution to enable effective independent Sharia compliance supervision. Okay, for the second, IFIS presents governance control and compliance efforts are enhanced by the Sharia governance structure. Okay, lastly, making an appropriate Sharia declaration or decision. This is a legal opinion made by an appropriately mandated Sharia board on any Sharia-related subject in Islamic finance. Okay, next is for second comparison, which is Sharia review. Let's see for the BNM first. Okay, for the first, Sharia review. Sharia review refers to a functions that conducts regular assessment on the compliance of the operations, business, affairs and activities of the IFI with Sharia requirements. Okay, for the second, the senior officer, principally accountable and responsible for compliance, shall be responsible for Sharia review, which forms part of the IFI's overall compliance responsibilities in ensuring sound management of compliance risk. Okay, for the third, an IFI shall ensure that officers who perform the Sharia review function are qualified to undertake compliance function responsibilities and have sound understanding of relevant Sharia requirements applicable to Islamic financial business. Okay, now let's move to IFI for Sharia review. Okay, for the first, Sharia review is an examination of the extent of the IFI's compliance in all its activities with the Sharia. Okay, for the second, this examination includes contracts, agreements, policies, products, transactions, memorandum and articles of association, financial statements report, especially internal audit and central bank inspection circulars. Okay, for the lastly, to assist SSB of IFIs in performing Sharia reviews to ensure compliance with Islamic Sharia rules and principles.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. My name is Badrul Munir Bazukanai, metric number 1180763. So I will continue from the previous about question 2 about Sharia review. So I will continue for IFSB body. So the first one is IFSB has published regulatory principles and guidelines to improve risk reduction and provide a transparency system for capital management, corporate governance and market discipline. Next, the Internal Sharia Review or Audit Unit ISRU will assess the product and services to ensure that they meet Sharia and Sharia board requirements. And the last one for IFSB on Sharia review is about IFSB. In IFSB, many ways are recommended for ensuring proper expertise and skill sets in Sharia boards, as well as evaluating their performance and professional advancement. So next, the difference on Sharia audit practices by the bodies. First, about Bank Negara Malaysia. First, Bank Negara Malaysia Sharia auditing is a function that assesses the quality and efficacy of an Islamic financial institution, internal control, risk management system, governance, producer on the overall of Islamic financial institution as compliant with Sharia in terms of operation, business affairs and activities. The senior official principally accountable and responsible for internal audit shall be responsible for Sharia audit, which forms part of the overall internal audit function in an IFI. And the last one for Bank Negara Malaysia, an IFI might ensure that its internal auditors who perform the Sharia audit function are qualified, meaning that they have knowledge about Sharia. They have knowledge about Sharia requirement applicable to Islamic financial business. Next is about IOF. First, IOF achieve the fundamental objective by enhancing greater transparency and disclosure in financial reporting. Second one is enhance public confidence of the IFIs as genuine in its application of Sharia rules and principles. The third one is about ensure IFIs adheres to IOF's code of ethics and accountants and auditor of Islamic financial institution. And the last one for IOF in Sharia audit practices is about review of interim and annual accounts and financial report, inclusive of matters arising from the audit. And the last one for the last bodies is about Islamic Financial Services Board. For Sharia audit practices by IFSB, International Sharia Review Audit Unit ISRU, to verify Sharia compliance has been satisfied. Next, the IFSB will advise the management to address and amend any issues of Sharia compliance. Next, about the IFSB will review the products and services whether it adhere to the opinions of Sharia board. And the last one is about product reports by IFSB indicating whether the IIFS has complied with Sharia requirement throughout the financial years. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. I'm Muhammad Syafiq Safidin bin Slamat, one of the staff in Sharia Research Department of AEA Prestige Dubai. I would like to present to you about how AEA Prestige Malaysia deals with the concentration risk of tawarruk concepts within its operations. Firstly, I want to emphasize that tawarruk is the types of transaction where a person buys a commodity with a deferred payment, then sells it to a third party other than the original seller for an immediate cash price. It is generally used to describe a transaction in which a Islamic bank sells a commodity to a customer on deferred payment at cost plus profit, and the customer then sells the commodity on a spot basis to a third party for cash. The purpose of this contract is to obtain cash immediately from another party. Next, the ways used by AEA Prestige Malaysia to deal with the concentration risk of tawarruk concepts within its operation. First, prior to the execution of the sale and purchase contract, they will identifying and monitoring the risk involved, including, if applicable, risk exposure to inventories originating from the acquisition and holding of an asset for the purpose of the tawarruk arrangement. With that, the process will become smooth without any doubt. After that, AEA Prestige Malaysia have realized the risk exposure limits, including trading or concentration limits on the approved asset trader or asset exchange as applicable in line with the Islamic financial institution risk appetite. Other than that, AEA Prestige Malaysia develop controls to guarantee that quotations are obtained in an independent, then they also formulate an acceptable asset pricing methodology. And lastly, use the effective techniques of risk mitigation. Okay, the risk mitigation techniques include establishing a contingency plan that is feasible to facilitate the execution of the tawarruk in a timely manner. For example, in the event of inadequate supply of assets for tawarruk contract, then establishing proper eligibility requirements and a review procedure for identifying a list of permitted assets, asset traders, or asset exchanges to be used in the tawarruk are among the risk reduction approaches. And lastly, establish AA prestige measure, establishing unambiguous demarcation of tasks and duties to be done under dual agency in one of the risk mitigation approaches. For example, selecting distinct persons to fulfill each duty for building a system that can execute dual agency roles independently, such as a shared messaging system, or we call SMS, or phone conversations. That's all from me. I will pass to the next presenter. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I, as a staff in Sharia Research Department of AEA, Prestige Dubai, I would like to recommend to Sheikh Abdul Karim to enroll Certified Sharia Advisor and Auditor CSSA. Okay, why I recommend Sheikh Abdul Karim to enroll CSSA? Because it offered by IOV and have the international standard. So Sheikh Abdul Karim can use this certificate in Malaysia and other parts of the world. Next, CSSA allow Sheikh Abdul Karim to gain the advanced knowledge in role and function of various Sharia compliant, and also review process in the financial institution, especially in Malaysia. Okay, next, Sheikh Abdul Karim can establish the foundation in order to gain the stakeholder trust and confidence in a financial institution adherence into Sharia. Sheikh Abdul Karim can know the technical review of Islamic banking and their operation. Okay, next, Sheikh Abdul Karim can know the correlation between a financial institution, Sharia Supervisory Board, SSB, and its internal Sharia compliance and review process. The last one, Sheikh Abdul Karim can top up his knowledge on the mechanism to ensure the Sharia compliant that according to the fatwa. That's all from me. Thank you.